So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to talk about how to find fundamental news. And of course, I'm going to be giving you my favorite websites where I get all of this information from, and that is as a result of the fact that some of you have come to the comments and have asked me, how do you find fundamental news? Where do you find fundamental news? All of these things, and I'm going to be breaking down the complete process of everything that is involved and how I find it. So stick around. And now, the first thing you must know about fundamental analysis is that it is not for lazy people. If you are lazy, you don't want to read, you don't want to research, you don't want to move from one website to the other, and you don't want to interpret economic data, if that's you, then you might not be able to do fundamental analysis. You might just have to just stick to the basics, because fundamental analysis requires you to do a lot of research. It requires you to look into details. It requires you to move from one point to the other, asking the right questions on the internet, and then of course reading through all of the reports that you are going to find before you even come to the point where you're going to be looking at technical analysis. So that's what it involves. So it makes a great deal of sense that you as a trader, of course, you are not lazy for you to be able to do all of those things. So beyond asking about the websites that we go to get all of these informations and all of those things, you must have a basic understanding of economics. That's one of the things that will help you as a fundamental trader, or as a trader that incorporates fundamentals into their trading, because it makes sense to have the fundamental and the technicals very, very well together, and then that helps your trading as well. So you must have, or it is important to have, a basic understanding of economic supply and demand. How does a nation earn money? Where does the nation's money come from? All of these things, those are the things that you have to understand as a trader who wants to trade or who wants to understand fundamental analysis as part of their trading strategy. You must have a deep understanding, or at least a basic understanding of economics. Understand supply, and then understanding economics as well, you have to have an understanding of the global supply chain. The global supply chain refers to what does each nation contribute to the global marketplace. For instance, Nigeria supplies oil. Japan does not have oil. There's no oil in Japan, so they have to buy all of the oil that they need from outside. And one of their biggest trading partners is Canada. You have to know what each of these nations brings to the supply chain. And that is why you see that there's a very, very strong correlation between the Canadian dollar and the Japanese yen and the US oil. So, because, Japan buys so much of it, Canada has so much of it to sell. So that is exactly how all of these things work. So you must understand what each nation brings to the global supply chain, along with your knowledge of economics, or your basic knowledge of economics. For those of you who will also be interested in trading stocks, you have to understand whatever company you are looking to invest in. You have to understand the sector that company plays in. You have to understand, is this company, first of all, is this company in the oil sector? If this company is in the oil sector and we are seeing that the price of oil is crashing and oil is going from whatever to whatever, how is that company likely to be affected? Or is this company in aviation, and for whatever reason the company is in aviation, but there has just been an announcement that there is like what happened in 2020, that there is now COVID and everybody has to stay at home and nobody's going to travel. How is that going to affect the company that is operating in aviation? So you have to have an understanding of if you are looking at stocks, you have to have an understanding of what sector the company is playing in, and then you use that knowledge of what sector the company is playing in to look at the economy. So let us just say you're looking at a company in China, and the company supplies, the company is a manufacturer, it sells things, whatever in China, and its major trading partners are in the US. If these major trading partners of this company are in the US, the next thing that is likely to happen is Trump now slaps a tariff on China. This company gets to be affected immediately. This company is immediately affected. So that's one of the things you have to understand. Where is the company? What's the trade policy? The legislations that the government is putting up, all of those policies that you are seeing, House of Reps, or maybe the Congress, or whatever they call it in whatever country, the legislations and the policies that the government is coming up with, how is it likely to affect this particular company that does business in X, Y, and Z sector? And that is why you see a lot of these corporations, they do everything in their power to influence government policies just so that, they are making money, and they are not heavily hit by all of these policies. So you must understand the sector is playing in, the legislations that are going on, the laws. If they pass a law, how is this law likely to affect a company? For instance, in Nigeria, they are talking about banning importation on solar. Companies that do solar installation are going to suffer, right? And of course, we don't have factories that make solar panels in this country. We don't have all of those things here. But then the government is trying to say, oh, we're going to ban solar panel importation. They ban solar panel importation. It means companies that install solar, even myself, I have a solar installation business. I have a business that sells solar energy equipment. We sell inverters, we sell, panels, we sell all of these things. charge controllers, the batteries. We sell all of these things. So, I mean, if you're interested, you can patronize that business as well. That is along with trading. So, let's say the government puts an embargo on that. If the government puts an embargo on that, that is going to affect people like us that have interest in business that has to do with solar installation. So that is one aspect of it that you have to understand as well. Sometimes when you have hedge fund researchers, that's why this fundamental analysis is basically doing research, doing your homework and looking at the ground. Sometimes hedge funds go as far as even sending people to the company site. They want to know who the executives are. They want to understand their standard operating procedure. How do these companies, do they have the right internal control system? How do those companies operate? Hedge funds go that deep and that far when they are doing their own research. They send people. There was a company that, I did watch, the hedge fund sent someone there. When they got there, they found that the company did not have as much as it claimed, that it was all a hype on the internet, So, but because the hedge funds had to spend money to send someone to actually go there and look at the company and look at all of those things, they got there and they made shocking discoveries. And of course, the hedge fund did not invest its money or in buying the shares of those companies. So that's one thing you have to know. You might need to go there yourself and, have a look at certain things and see how things are going, depending on how, neck deep you are in the reality of what you are doing as a trader or as an investor. I mentioned earlier about global supply chain. And one of the things I mentioned was, let's say, for instance, in the global supply chain, Nigeria produces crude oil. And as a nation that produces crude oil, we take crude oil and then we send it out there. They do whatever they want to do, refine it and sell back to us. But you have to understand that, let us say, for instance, the price of crude oil drops, let's say to maybe $40 per barrel. That affects Nigeria adversely because we are selling crude oil. And the next thing that is going to happen is it's going to impact our foreign reserves. And as it impacts our foreign reserve, it's going to impact the exchange rate. The exchange rate, the Naira is going to weaken because we're not earning enough money. And as the exchange rate weakens, the next thing that happens is that automatically our economy is going to weaken. The price of things are going to go up and purchasing power of the Naira is going to fall, right? So the moment that happens, the everyday Nigerian on the street begins to feel it. And then some people say, Nigeria too hard, Nigeria too hard. And you don't even know one of the reasons that Nigeria is actually hard. So it is things like this. So the price of oil could fall. And that's one of the best things that every nation can do for itself is to diversify and make sure that you have multiple sources of income. You are selling oil, you can sell gold, you can sell this, you can sell that. All of these many things you can sell and use that to ultimately make a lot of money for your nation. So that's one of the things that you look at. So of course, I know this is the part where everyone has been waiting for. I am going to actually now show you my favorite websites to actually get the fundamental news. And one of my first favorites is Reuters. Reuters is absolutely simple, doesn't have too much details, doesn't have too much columns and a lot of things for you to look at. So Reuters is a very, very simple website. When you go on Reuters, Reuters.com. So Reuters is, of course, I'm going to put that on the screen. When you go on Reuters, you're going to find a lot of very, very detailed fundamental analysis. You're going to find write-up of different columnists and people who, researchers as well, who would have put up their research on Reuters. Now, same goes for Bloomberg.com, and the same thing goes for CNBC.com. These are my top 3 favorite websites. But of course, you have a lot more detail on CNBC, and of course, when you get to Bloomberg as well, you're going to find a lot more detail on Bloomberg as well. So, but Reuters, it's very, very simple. You can basically start from there and just, begin to grow your experience. But as you start to get serious, you're going to start looking at the likes of CNBC, and then you're going to be looking at the likes of Bloomberg. And now Bloomberg has a trading terminal. That one is not for us here in the retail world. The Bloomberg terminal costs around $24,000 a year to subscribe. It's not like TradingView that you pay like $200 and something or $155 per year and you're feeling like you're a professional trader. No, the guys at Bloomberg, and one of the advantages of the guys at Bloomberg is that they get the information way before we get it. So let's say interest rate is coming out. The guys at Bloomberg have already seen the rate cut. Let's say whatever is going to happen, the guys, maybe companies posting earnings, all of this. These details go in on Bloomberg. And also another very, very interesting one as well is Yahoo Finance. Yahoo Finance gives you very, very good details as well. So all of these things. But the interesting thing is when you read all of this news, because sometimes you're reading some of these things and it's going completely over your head, you must be able to be patient enough to sit down and interpret what you have just read. This thing I just read, what does it mean? If I was invested, what does it mean? You have to take your time to actually do research and read through on all of these things. So you just can't, read the fundamental news and then you jump on your chart and you feel like you've done fundamental analysis. No, you're going to need to do a whole lot of interpretation, and then you're now going to wait for the websites like Forex Factory, FX Street, all of those things. Those guys are just, they're producing information from, the Bureau of Statistics. Okay. PMI came out, purchasing managers index came out, consumer price CPI came out, all of these things. Yes, they are coming out. That's what they are posting. But at the same time, that does not mean that you now have an in-depth, knowledge of what is really going on behind the scenes. And you have to understand that at the core of fundamental analysis is geopolitics, global politics. Is at the core of everything. Just like right now, of course, I'm not even going to get into that because they just finished their meeting, and Trump has now hinted that they are going to drop some of the tariffs against China, and the markets are likely going to celebrate that in the coming week. You're likely to see a strong stock market run, and you probably see some dollar. You probably see some strength going into the dollar as well. So that's one of the things that we're likely to see in the coming week. So we're likely to see a bullish run on maybe Nasdaq, S&P 500. All of these things. We'll probably see some run up in all of those places. So because Trump has just stated that they are likely to cut down some of the tariff on China down to from about 140% to about 80%. That's a good thing. So it means that further down the line, they're likely to continue to take down all of those tariffs. So that's just a tip, in the video. So guys, like, share, subscribe. If you watched it all the way to this point, I have a free Telegram channel. The link is going to be somewhere in the description. If you are watching on YouTube, if you watch this on TikTok, go to chikwadotrading.com. The link is also in the bio. If you scroll down, you're going to find the link to our free Telegram channel where I share how I trade and all of these things. So I'll be more than happy to see you on the next one. Cheers.